There are people in this world who look like they have nothing, but own everything. And then there are people who look important, but have no idea how to treat a human being. This is a story about both. A man walked into one of the most expensive Mercedes dealerships in the city. Worn boots, a jacket with a tear at the shoulder, hair that hadn't seen a barber in weeks. He didn't look like someone who belonged there, and the staff made sure he knew it. But by the time he walked out, every single person in that showroom had their jaw on the floor. Because what happened next wasn't just shocking. It was a lesson that no one in that building will ever forget for the rest of their lives. Stay with me. His name was Daniel, 53 years old. Quiet guy. The kind of man who fixes things with his hands, eats simple food, and doesn't talk much about himself. He had spent 30 years building a logistics company from scratch, started with one second-hand truck, a broken GPS, and a route nobody else wanted. He drove through storms, slept in parking lots, and did deliveries other drivers refused. 3 decades later, Daniel owned a fleet of over 200 vehicles. His company moved goods across 6 states. He had contracts with manufacturers, retail chains, hospitals. The man had built something real, with nothing but hard work and stubbornness. But here's the thing about Daniel. He never changed. He still wore the same kind of clothes he wore when he was driving that first truck. He still ate at roadside dhabas. He didn't care about looking rich. He cared about being useful. So when his company landed a massive new government contract, and he needed 5 heavy-duty Mercedes trucks, the kind that cost around $80,000 each, he did what he always did. He drove himself to the dealership. No suit, no assistant, no warning call ahead. Just Daniel, in his torn jacket, parking his old personal car in the visitor spot. The moment he walked through those glass doors, the energy in the room shifted. A young salesman near the entrance looked him up and down and didn't move. 2 other staff members exchanged glances. A woman at the reception desk gave him a tight, fake smile, the kind that says, "You're in the wrong place." Daniel walked slowly through the showroom, running his hand along one of the trucks on display. He wasn't doing anything wrong. He was just looking. But to the staff, a man dressed like him touching a vehicle worth $80,000 was apparently a problem. The floor manager, a sharp-dressed man named Patrick, walked over, not to help, to investigate. He stood close to Daniel and said, loudly enough for others to hear, "Sir, is there something I can help you with? Are you perhaps looking for someone?" Daniel looked at him calmly. "I want to buy 5 of these." Patrick blinked, then smiled. Not a real smile. The kind of smile adults give a child who says something silly. 5 trucks. "Yes," Daniel said. "These specific ones. The heavy cargo series." Patrick looked back at his colleagues. One of them smirked. Another whispered something. And Patrick, without asking a single question about Daniel's budget or business, made a decision. He decided this man was wasting their time. He signaled toward the security guard standing near the entrance. "Sir," Patrick said, keeping his voice calm but firm, "I think it might be better if you—" "Better if I what?" Daniel asked. The security guard was now walking over. The whole showroom was watching. Other customers, staff, everyone. And Daniel just stood there, completely still, not angry, not embarrassed. Just watching Patrick make the worst professional decision of his life. What happened next, no one expected. Daniel reached into the inside pocket of his torn jacket, the one with the tear at the shoulder, and pulled out a phone. He made 1 call. 30 seconds, hung up. He looked at Patrick and said simply, "Your owner is a man named Mr. Gerald Haynes. He'll be calling you in about 2 minutes. I suggest you wait." Patrick laughed. He actually laughed. Then his phone rang. The color drained from Patrick's face. The moment he heard the voice on the other end, his posture changed. His shoulders dropped. The fake confidence disappeared completely. He kept saying, "Yes, sir. Yes, of course. I understand. I'm so sorry." When he hung up, the showroom was completely silent. Daniel and Gerald Haynes had done business together for 12 years. They had met when Daniel's company was small and Gerald had taken a chance on him. They were old friends, and when Daniel called him and calmly explained what had just happened in his own dealership, Gerald didn't find it funny at all. Gerald drove to the showroom himself. Within the hour, what followed was deeply uncomfortable for Patrick and his team, and it should have been. Gerald walked in, shook Daniel's hand warmly, and then turned to face his staff. He didn't shout. He didn't need to. He just asked one question. "What made you decide this man couldn't afford to be here?" No one answered, because the honest answer was his clothes. That was it. His clothes, not his behavior, not anything he said, not any real reason, just the fact that he didn't look wealthy. And in a showroom built on the idea of selling luxury, the staff had decided, within 10 seconds of seeing him, that he didn't qualify. Gerald personally sat with Daniel for the next hour. They went through all 5 trucks together. Specifications, delivery timelines, customization options. Daniel paid a deposit that day. A deposit that was larger than what most customers spend in total. Patrick was removed from his position as floor manager before the week was over. Now here's what I want you to think about. Daniel never lost his temper. He never made a scene. He didn't need to. Because here's the truth. People who are genuinely secure, genuinely successful, they don't need to prove themselves to anyone. They know who they are. The only people who needed to prove something in that showroom that day were the ones in the nice suits. And this happens more than you think. Studies on consumer behavior have shown again and again that people make snap judgments based on appearance, and those judgments cost businesses millions every year in lost sales, bad reviews, and damaged reputations. One bad interaction, one wrong call, one moment of arrogance, and it's over. Patrick saw a torn jacket and decided the story was finished before it even started. But Daniel's story, 30 years of sleeping in parking lots, driving through storms, building something with nothing, that story was written long before Patrick ever stood in that showroom. The jacket didn't tell it, but it was there. There's something else that happened, though something smaller but maybe more important. The young salesman who had stood near the entrance at the beginning, the one who hadn't moved when Daniel walked in. He was the only one who, somewhere in the middle of everything, quietly walked over and offered Daniel a glass of water. That's it. Just water. Daniel remembered it, because Daniel notices things like that. A few weeks after the trucks were delivered, Daniel's company put out a notice that they were hiring a new regional sales coordinator. The salary was good. The benefits were better. The young salesman got a call. He got the job. One small act of basic human decency changed the direction of that young man's career. Think about that. The world is full of Daniels. People who have worked harder than most, built more than most, and still don't feel the need to show it off. They walk into rooms quietly. They don't announce themselves. They just watch, and they remember. And the world is full of Patricks too. People so focused on what someone looks like that they miss everything that actually matters. The real mistake in that showroom wasn't just losing a sale. The real mistake was forgetting that every single person who walks through your door is a human being first, full stop. Treat people. Well, not because of what they can do for you, but because it's the right thing to do. Because you never actually know who you're talking to. And even if Daniel had walked in with nothing, even if he really couldn't afford a single truck, he still deserved basic respect.